Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for A Gander at Mother Goose, released in 1940. It's the 288th in the series, and it's directed by Tex Avery. You can find this beautiful restoration on the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 5 DVD set. I have a link below to that set. There is a HD version out there. It's not on physical media as far as I'm aware, but at least it is out there. You won't find it on YouTube unless Warner Brothers themselves choose to upload it here. It is under copyright. But in case you haven't seen this one, it's perhaps a little bit more on the obscure side, especially with Tex Avery's output. But in case you haven't seen it, it's really just a whole bunch of spot gags involving fairy tales, as only Tex Avery could do it. And we'll certainly go through each and every gag. We'll go through all the references. And naturally, I'll give you my observations as well. So yes, it's yet another Tex Avery spot gag short, and keep in mind these were not meant to be watched one after another or anything like that. They will just show up in their cinema, surrounded by other short movies and a feature and so on, and people wouldn't have perhaps remembered the last one they saw. A lot of them would see these with fresh eyes. But when you've seen a lot of spot gag shorts, especially by Tex Avery, you'll come to expect what some of the gags will be, what the outcomes are, and so on, but I'm not going to hold that against this short, even though I could see a lot of the gags coming a mile away. But it's interesting because he alternated between doing the narrative shorts, like the previous review of A Bear's Tale, and then shorts like this, which are spot gag shorts. It seems like he did these spot gag shorts because they would be quicker to do. You don't have to come up with a narrative, you just come up with some gags and you're done, right? But there would have been this extra work involved with actually creating all the characters for each and every gag, because a lot of the time you don't have any real continuity. You might have continuity in a sense where you might have, I don't know, Egghead all throughout showing up in various gags, but it's something like this. It's just the different fairy tales where they have to design each and every character. So did it really save him a lot of time? I don't know. Maybe he just had everything down pat to the point where he could do this fairly quickly. I don't know. But in any case, let's take a look at these gags where, first of all, when we see the title, A Gander at Mother Goose, now that actually can have two meanings. So gander, and we probably use gander more here in Australia if I'm being completely honest, but gander means you're taking a look at something, you know, you're having a gander at something, right? But it also means a male goose. So given the title name, I'm leaning towards the latter, that is the intent, but hey, it can mean either one. But before we even get into the first gag, we can hear the opening song in the beautiful opening titles, and thank goodness they found them because they look really, really nice here. And of course, technical advisor, Mother Goose, because who else is going to be the technical advisor for such a short, right? And right away we hear the narrator, Robert C. Bruce, because of course it's going to be. Granted, he didn't do every single spot gag short that Tex Avery ever did, but he's pretty much associated with these by this point, right? But this opening shot, especially in this restoration and in HD too, looks amazing.
Now sit back and make yourselves comfortable. For tonight we turn back the pages of time to relive those cherished memories of your childhood days, when you dwelt in a land of make-believe with the lovable characters of old Mother Goose.
It simulates the effect of like a multiplane camera look where you got the foreground and background, but instead of zooming in, they're actually zooming past each other. It's a nice little effect here, and it's a beautiful painting. And again, we can see it now in all its glory, as it references all of the different nursery rhymes, some of which we're about to see in a Tex Avery kind of way, of course. Alright, so we get some beautiful hand animation turning the page, and that's how we're going to go between these different spot gags, which is a nice little touch. But we see Mary, as part of the nursery rhyme, Mary, Mary, quite contrary, and she looks rather normal at first, as we hear a little Dutch garden in the background of this scene. But as we get close up, once the narrator asks the question, how does your garden grow? She says,
I'm so terribly sorry, but confidentially, it stinks.
Now that's a Katharine Hepburn impersonation done by Sarah Berner, and I just like that transformation where she starts off looking relatively normal, but then yeah, it just changes into Katharine Hepburn. And that whole confidentially, it stinks, comes from Misha Auer, A-U-E-R. I have no idea how to pronounce that properly. And that line comes from the movie You Can't Take It With You. So if you ever hear that line in Looney Tunes, that's where it comes from. As for the gag itself, it's fine. Again, I already know how a lot of this stuff is going to play out, but at least it looks nice, and naturally you see this really dirty garden filled with rubbish. It's kind of a weird one, not side-splitting funny, but anyway. So the next bit's fairly quick. It's of course to do with Humpty Dumpty, and we see this rubbery animation of Humpty Dumpty himself. The rhyme's not even completed, it falls over, and Humpty Dumpty, voiced by Mel Blanc here, says, "Heh, you didn't hurt me," and he just walks off in a similar gag to a bear's tail where you can see his bottom.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall.
Didn't even hurt me.
So, it's fine, I guess. And now we see Jack and Jill, and easily the highlight for this bit has to be the designs for Jack and Jill themselves. I could not find if they were based off of anyone. They look too specific to be just a generic thing, but then again, regardless, they look absolutely hilarious. The gag's pretty good too, you know. It's a very cheeky one where Avery's kind of pushing things a little bit there. But you know what? It works like this. You didn't really need any more than those kisses at the end.
Remember Jack and Jill? Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water.
But I like how it starts off innocently. You hear a tisket a tasket when they're going up the hill, but later on we hear pretty baby. Because what else are we going to hear when Jack runs up the hill, right? Voice acting wise, Robert C. Bruce's frustration just kills me in this scene, and Mel Blanc's delivery of Jack here, where he kind of sounds like the voice he would use for Biggie Buzzard later on once he took over the role, it's hilarious.
Jack came down. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack came down. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. The heck with the water.
Again, you sort of know what to expect here, but whatever, it's still pretty funny. And the next bit is little Miss Muffet. Of course, we don't see her face, so you already know what the outcome's going to be. Let's not kid ourselves here, but thankfully, when you do see her face and the reaction of the spider that does come down looking all mean at first, but then gets all scared, it's funny, even though you know what's going to happen. I mean, it is what it is, you know, nothing too crazy, of course. Sarah Berner does the voice of Miss Muffet here. I mean, she was already doing other voices, so it was probably just a case of, hey, you're in the booth already, can you just do these few little sounds? Sure, why not? So next up, it's the Three Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf. It's interesting to note that in a few years, Tex Avery's first MGM short would be The Blitz Wolf, which would be a World War II take on the Three Little Pigs story, right? And he would actually end up using a wolf character in quite a few of his shorts over at MGM. I mean, I doubt he was thinking ahead when making this short, but it's interesting to see that he does the wolf here, and that would be a character that would be a mainstay of a lot of his shorts, including perhaps his most well-known, which is Red Hot Riding Hood. But boy, oh boy, I love Mel Blanc's delivery of the wolf, especially when he does the whole I'll huff and I'll puff.
I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in.
Keep in mind that Walt Disney's Three Little Pigs cartoon would have still been on everyone's minds around this time because it was very, very popular. So I guess while watching this, they'll get a kick out of it. But the whole spitting and the line deliveries there, well, we will get a payoff in just a moment. But timing-wise, this section's great because you've got all this build-up, this dramatic moment where you think the pigs are going to have their house blown in, and sure enough, the door then blows in. But in an unexpected twist, even to the wolf from what it seems, they wave a white flag and he gets a Historine, which is a play on Listerine, which is a mouthwash. And when he yells out, "Why doesn't someone tell me these things?" that comes from an ad campaign involving that. So yeah, all that build-up just for a silly little punchline. I like it, but is it the greatest? Perhaps not, but I enjoyed it.
Why don't some of my best friends tell me these things?
Up next, we get the March of the Wooden Soldiers, where we hear in the background, "On the Rue de la Paix." I mean, it's not an obvious choice, but hey, it works. It's a very silly, quickie thing, because it looks like they're marching in unison, but as you pan back, all the legs are just all over the place. I mean, it's fine. It gave me a bit of a chuckle, but you sort of know what to expect. Again, once you watch enough of these Spot Gag shorts, you're always thinking, okay, what's the twist? But it's fine.
Ah, the parade of the wooden soldiers. Notice the precision and perfect cadence of these well-trained toys. Heads erect, shoulders back as they march in perfect formation. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right.
So the next bit involves wishing upon a star. Funnily enough, though, Pinocchio came out the same year, but this would have been in production before that or during that, and it's just a coincidence. It is a poem that originated before Pinocchio anyway, so it's not like anyone's copying anyone or whatever. But it's a beautiful looking scene, especially with the backgrounds here, as we hear Bury Me Not on the Lone Prairie, of course. And Mel Blanc's delivery of the dog is great as well. We all know what the dog's gonna wish for. He, of course, wishes for a tree. Ha ha. But anyway, it's a nice little gag.
The wish I wish tonight. I wish I had.
And next we have Jack Be Nimble, another quickie one where Robert C. Bruce narrates the whole thing. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack jump over the candlestick. But I love Mel Blanc's voice here, and it sounds like a certain Wascally Wabbit that's going to be coming up very soon in 1940. But for this character, it works perfectly fine, and once again, you know what to expect. That he's saying, it's a singe, and then he's literally singed. Yeah, okay, sure. But I love Jack's face here. That's probably one of the few highlights in this particular short.
Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack jump over the candlestick.
Ah, there's nothing to it. Just fast. Speedy, that's me. Flames didn't even touch me.
And next up is The Old Woman That Lived in a Shoe. And I love the animation of all those little kids. Man, I would hate to have such a large family like that. That would just drive me nuts. And just look at her face. I mean, she's clearly rethinking her life choices there. And what else is Carl Starling going to play in the background? Of course he's going to play Rockabye Baby, because why not? But it leads to a punchline where we see a deadbeat dad just reading a newspaper, having a drink and relaxing while the woman does all the work. I would imagine the reaction to that these days would have been way different than back in the day, although I would imagine some husbands laughing at this in the cinema would have drawn some dirty looks from their wives sitting next to them, who would have to look after a lot of children at home while the husband goes out and makes the bread. But anyway, it is what it is, but it falls a bit flat as a punchline, but I get what they were trying to do. It's just a joke that hasn't aged well. Next up, we have Little Hiawatha, who says, I'm going to shoot an arrow, and wherever it lands, I don't know. And the gag's pretty obvious. He ends up shooting an eagle, and that's pretty much it. It's interesting when this came out, because fairly recently there was a Disney Silly Symphony short about Little Hiawatha, who ended up also being a bit of a comic book career as well. But also, Avery himself would make an MGM short called Little Hiawatha, and there would even be a Bugs Bunny short by Friz Freleng not long after this, so it's not something that would be done much today, for obvious reasons, but yeah, it's just interesting. I would imagine that Avery did this just as a bit of a play on the Silly Symphony short that Disney did. And Sarah Berner does the voice of Little Hiawatha in this one, and it should be pretty obvious that Mel Blanc does the eagle. And in our final gag, this is again Avery playing with time, so we see this rather serious-looking moment, and this takes a whole minute until the punchline comes. But say what you want about this bit, say what you want about the whole short, this entire Silent Night sequence, and that's what you hear as well in the music in the background, by the way, it looks stunning, especially in this high-definition print, just how it pans over, it's all serious, and Robert C. Bruce's narration is rather soothing as well. And we have one mouse, who's voiced by Margaret Hilter Bowl, and that's her only voice in this whole short, saying Merry Christmas, and we then hear Mel Blanc's quiet, and we end right there. It's weak. It wasn't particularly funny. I get what Avery was trying to do here, but at least this whole scene is saved from the beautiful backgrounds. And this would have, no doubt, saved some time on Avery's end. Right, so rewatching this short, I think we can all agree this is one of the weaker Avery shorts in general from his Warner Brothers period. However, is it bad? No. And I have to try and be really fair here, because I've seen so many of these Spot Gag shorts, I have to be fair. If this is someone's first Tex Avery short and they hadn't seen one before, of course, they're going to laugh their heads off and they're going to find it really funny. And a lot of it is funny. A few dud jokes here and there, like the Silent Night bit. But for someone like me, who's seen all these, yeah, I have to watch this with that in mind, saying, hey, just because I know the punchline, I got to see how well it's executed, and thankfully a lot of it is. I love the human character designs, especially of Jack B. Nimble, and of course the ugly Miss Muffet design, and this is a very late 30s, early 40s type human designs, especially with the grotesque characters. I absolutely love that. I can't give it that high of a score though, because compared to Avery's other output, especially of this year, it's not as strong, so I'd give this one probably 7 out of 10. It's fine, and I'm trying to be really fair, as I said, because if this is someone's first Avery short, they'll no doubt find it absolutely hilarious. And if they do, hopefully they'll look on to some of the others, which I think are better executed. But in any case, as good as director Avery was, it's not as though he's able to be perfect every single short. That's impossible. Some are going to be inevitably better than others, and this one is definitely on the lower end. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.